Good morning, everybody. My name is Max, short for Massimiliano Pedretti. I work for the European Union Delegation, together with a small team of colleagues managing the energy portfolio. The ambassador gave a general overview a few minutes ago with the main features. I will give a short presentation to explain a bit better what we do. But maybe let's first invite the panelists also. I'm supposed to moderate a panel today about business investment outlook in Tanzania. We have representatives of the government, representative of TAREA, we have a representative of the private sector, and we want them to present also what they do, but also to engage in some discussion. I hope it will be interesting for everyone. So let me invite as first the government. So we have the energy officer for renewable energy, Joyce Msangi. Welcome to the panel, Joyce. Thank you very much. After me, Joyce will also show a small presentation about the Ministry of Energy and their involvement in the energy sector, their planning, their activities. We have done a representative of a company engaged in digitalization for off-grid and also for at the utility scale, Mr. Boubacar Diandy, Managing Director of Sagemcom. Very welcome, Boubacar. We have then a representative of the private sector who we know very well and we appreciate very well. A very energetic and dynamic woman, Marianne Walpert, CEO of Simusolar. Please, Marianne, have a seat. We were expecting also Greenlight planning, but I think they are not represented. Unless they are here, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we welcome to the panel also Alexander Mwalyoyo, Policy Dialogue Expert of TAREA. Alexander, thank you very much. So after my presentation, I will engage the panelists. I will start with the Ministry of Energy, and Joyce will also show a small presentation. We gave her a bit more space rather than compared to the others, so she has the opportunity to present the activities of the ministry. Then I would propose that when I start with the first round of questions to the panelists, you can start also showing your slides, if you have, while answering to my first question. Then maybe we go to a second round, and hopefully the audience also will intervene and ask questions that you may think relevant. So maybe let's start with a brief overview of the support of the European Union to the energy sector. I hope now this, yes. So what we are doing, as the ambassador is saying, is basically, in general terms, create capacity, transfer capacities, and support the creation of an enabling environment for private operators also to support. But we mainly support the public sector. That is the core of our current support. The most important and practically visible support that we are implementing now is a program called Energy Sector Reform, which is purely capacity building to the utility, to TANESCO, and to the Ministry of Energy. It's a big operation. The slides here that you see is a fact sheet that is available at the EU booth. So whatever I know it's not very readable, so forgive me for that. But feel free to grab these fact sheets at the EU booth. They will give you a clear understanding of these projects. One side in English, the other side is in Kiswahili, so it's for everybody. So the energy sector reform, as I said, is an operation of 35 million. 32 will actually be used to procure supplies and equipment to the utility, to modernize it, and consultants and experts and coaches and trainers to make the utility more performing, more cost-effectively performing, and also from a financial point of view, and more responding to the customer requests. There is also a component in energy data and statistics of this 35.3 will go to mainly to the Tanzanian statistic authority to help better gather, analyze, and disseminate data on energy for a better planning. We have a second program of capacity building. Let me see which one is that. Sorry, I need to. I think I skipped one slide. Let me go back. Yes. A second one is the implementation of the Energy Efficiency Action Plan. This is an operation implemented by UNDP. They co-funded. For the EU funds is 8 million. The UNDP is 1. This action is targeting several institutions and primarily the Tanzania Bureau of Standards, but not exclusively, also TIRDO, also the University, Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology. We want to help in developing national minimum energy performance standards, the MAPs, and eventually also to allow Tanzania to establish a labeling of appliances, to promote energy efficiency, to measure energy efficiency. In Tanzania, currently there are no energy auditors. We want to help Tanzania to have this locally available expertise to create that, and also to improve the energy efficiency of building and how to measure it and to audit it. This is the Energy Efficiency Action Plan implementation. The third one is an electrification, more linked to the rural electrification. It's at the construction of a substation in Ifakara and extension of distribution power lines. We're talking about 70 kilometers. This action is 6.5 million, working with REA mainly, and connecting 8 villages, resulting in 1,000 new connections. We have another action with the Rural Electrification Agency, which is the turnkey 3. This is a bigger action to the extent of 65 million. It was starting with 50, but then it was extended to 15 during the COVID times in order to further electrify health facilities. This is mainly helping TAREA to extend the grid, to increase the connectivity, to grant access to the population. We are talking in this case of 3,500, around 3,500 villages and 200,000 new connections. The last slides, quickly, you remember how the minister in the first day stressed the importance of clean cooking. We are now implementing a program of 30 million euros, and it is called the Integrated Approaches to Sustainable Cooking Solution. It's a program that has a component implemented by UNCDF and UNIDO that is managing a cook fund, and the cook fund is expressively targeting private sector. It's a fund available, private companies that want to distribute improved cooking stove and related fuels, they can access, they can present their proposal, access funding. It's an investment grant. The component of the fund can allow an initial investment grant for upscaling production and an RBF system to reward companies that distribute and are successful in distributing cooking stove. And then there is also a component of capacity building again to the government to to improve the regulatory framework, to also launch call for proposal for greener charcoal production, which is a thing that we want all to abandon, but it will require some time. So in the meantime, we want to promote a more efficient charcoal production for the shortest time possible. Then we want all to shift to cleaner technologies. And there will also be a national campaign operation of awareness creation. These are the programs strictly funded by the delegation, but there are other action in the energy that we oversee, we supervise, and those funds may originate from regional envelopes, may originate from global envelopes, from the European Union. Just to remind you, for example, we are now currently preparing a feasibility study for a 100 megawatt solar plant in Msangi that was requested by the Ministry of Energy, and we have responded to that request. I hope you assisted yesterday to the panel where Electrify was here. We have a success story here, Marianne, of Electrify, how Electrify was successfully funding private sector here in Tanzania. And then we have big blending operation with international funding institution. Blending means that international funding institution traditionally give loans to the government. We put a part of grant in that loan to ease the burden for the government to repay. An example is the Tanzania-Zambia interconnector. We participate for 30 million in an operation of 456. These are typically international interconnection transmission line. We have a Tanzania backbone interconnector, Iringa, Dodoma, Singida, Shinyanga. We participate with 6 million. We have another one, the Northwest Tanzania electrification project, Gate and Nyakanazi. Just to conclude, it was probably too long, our attention is shifting now more and more also to the blue economy dimension of renewable energy. So that is why it's very good that we have here also Zanzibar represented. There will be, after this general panel, 2 tracks. There will be a panel on policy regulatory framework for the development of renewable energy, one on the blue economy, one for innovation, and one for clean cooking. So free to choose whatever fits your interest best. Thank you very much for your attention. I can maybe now leave the floor and start to engage in my panelists. I will start by Joyce here. Do you have the remote, Joyce, with you? I can give you one. Joyce, feel free to start with your presentation. I will maybe ask a question after that, and then we pass to the other panel. You don't have a microphone. Can somebody assist with the microphones? Thank you.
Thanks, Max, and everybody, good morning. Before starting my presentation, I would like to recognize the presence of my superior from the ministry, the commissioners, and the other seniors. And also we have some representatives from our organizations, TAREA and EURA, the ones who are under the ministry. Okay, by starting, I'll just want to highlight the existing frameworks within the ministry which support the investment in renewable energy. We have the National Energy Policy of 2015 as well, and there is Energy and Water Regulatory Authority Act, there is Rural Energy Act, there is Electricity Act, and we also have the Small Power Producer Rules of 2020. So who are the key players within the sector? We have the organization under the ministry, such as TANESCO. This is a utility company. We have rural energy agents responsible for electrification in rural areas. There is TGDC, responsible for geothermal development, and EURA as a regulator. What are the others as local government authorities, ministries which are related, like water, Ministry of Water, Forest, Agriculture. We also recognize the private sectors, faith-based organization, development partner, and finance institutions. So what the initiative so far, what it's been doing, the ministry has tried to create the enabling environment, the frameworks that will support investment in renewable energy. Like we are preparing the renewable energy strategy, which is almost going to be finalized. And the ministry through REA is prepare the rural energy master plan, where within the master plan there is a clean cooking action plan, which will address most of the issues within the clean cooking sector, subsector. Also, we have been collaborating with some organization, private sector, the community-based organization, the financial development partners, like the EU Honorable Ambassador I've already mentioned. Like we are doing some project in clean cooking areas. Also, the minister has tried to identify some potential areas for investments in solar and wind. In solar, we have identified the areas like Shinyanga, Same, and Merinyo. Even in wind, there is Makambako, Singida. So all this will guide the investors who are coming and interested in investing in those areas. Also, there has been procurement of renewable energy projects through competitive bidding. I know it has been a long time since 2018, but the project now is in finalization stage, and soon the people who have won, they'll be notified officially. There is also financing opportunities which are available. These are through REA. REA have been providing grants, like matching grants, performance, and credit line facility. The matching grants are there to support project preparation before starting the project, the feasibility study, the environmental impact assessment, and those all preparation before starting the projects. And in the credit line facilities, there to support the infrastructure development, and the performance grants is there for customer connections. So what are the eligible projects and developers? All the grid connected, the off-grid projects, they can access these funds. And the non-electric energy projects, like the ones who are supports the improved charcoal stoves, they are also there supported. Who are the eligible developers, project developers, both public and private, the non-government organization, CBOs and individuals? They can try to apply through REA and get the funds. So what the current status of the mini grids? So far by 2020, there was at least more than 109 mini grids that exist in 21 regions of Tanzania. And through this, we have more than 157 megawatts, and the customers who were connected were 103,000. So this is a great, and we appreciate the private sector for trying to electrify and the rural areas. So far, through this implementation, it has increased the energy access. When we can try to observe from 2008 to 2020, so far, the energy access has increased from 2% to 69%. So this is a great achievement, and the target is to have 100% electrification access, energy access in all Tanzania. So the ministry, what is the responsible and the roles so far we've been doing? We have been prepared the guidelines, we have put in some coordination of some projects, we've been issuing support letters, providing some government funding through the organization, and ensure equitable energy availabilities. So the dynamics, mini grid dynamics from 2008. pre and post. We have been from, by observation, the blue color is before 2008, and the red color is the addition of the project that has been increased in different sources of energy. As we can see there, from solar, biomass, and the fossil fuels, the projects now, we are decreasing, we are reducing the projects in fossil fuels. So that's the current status in brief in energy sector. Thanks, Max.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for the interesting and comprehensive presentation. Maybe I will start with the first question before giving the floor to the next panelist. If you can maybe deepen a bit your analysis on how conducive to private developers is this regulatory framework that you just saw. How you see that, how would you encourage investors, private sector to come to Tanzania? I know that there has been recently dialogues between the regulators and the private developers. Maybe you want to explain a bit to the audience? Thank you.
Yes, thanks. The regulator, the policy frameworks that are existing, we have the energy policy that is supporting and recognizing the renewable energy sources. And the policy there, it promotes the investment and development of renewable energy sources. But so far in tariffs, I know there has been a challenge, but it has been addressed, and as the people who were present in the first day, the minister recognized it, and the EURA regulators, they've been working on tariffs, and so far the tariffs are going to be cost reflective and it's going to be according to the investment that has been done.
Thank you, Joyce. It's very encouraging to hear that. Maybe we pass to I will come back to you for the second question later. We can pass to Sagemcom maybe now. Boubacar, welcome. Boubacar, you're representing a multinational company. It's both telecoms and energy. You can now maybe explain. You have some few slides, and while maybe you present your company, you can also tell us how do you see Tanzania renewable energy market developing, and what are the synergies with the energy and telecommunication? Thank you. You have the remote with you? Yeah.
Okay. So, habari za asubuhi, good morning, bonjour à tous. So my name is Boubacar Diandy. I am leading Sagemcom Energy and Telecom, which is the subsidiary of Sagemcom, which is a French company. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. Just to tell you quickly that Sagemcom is present in 22 countries as an EPC. For those who are not familiar with this type of wording, EPC means engineering, procurement, and construction. So we have started to be present in Africa for more than 20 years. Initially in telecommunication, we performed optical fiber networks, and then we moved to site build for the telcos, and from there we moved to energy. So just some key figures. Today we have deployed more than 44,000 kilometers of cable. So when I'm saying cable, it means optical fiber and medium and low voltage cable for the electricity part. In the solar part, so far we have deployed more than 27,000 kilowatt peak, both for telecommunication towers and also for mini grids. We have also our own remote monitoring system, which is very important in both aspects. Okay, so let me go quickly to the next slide. Well, can I come back? Okay, so just to be more specific on our electrification offer, we are addressing two types of solar projects. First one, this is for power generation, meaning that we can be EPC to build large solar plant up to 50 megawatts. And in the second part, we are able to propose mini grids. So the mini grids to connect to the people. And in parallel of these activities, we are providing grid extension services. Okay, so in the next slide, no, okay, yes, I hope it will stay. Okay, so in this slide, you will see exactly where we are, what we are doing. In the left, you can see that we are addressing all the steps of the mini-grid, meaning that we are offering end-to-end solution. We are starting by the power generation with the solar panels, the battery. We are doing also the distribution and the customer connection. So just for your information, Sagemcom is a leading company in the metering system. And I need to add smart metering system. And this is what we encourage for the mini-grids. And I think that you have a question about that. Okay, for the grid extension, this is basically what we are doing today with REA. Today we have 4 projects in 4 regions. We are in Chinyanga, in Dodoma, in Arusha, and in Mbeya. So in this side, we are just extending the TANESCO network up to the villages to connect the people. And for the solar plants, we are hearing that Tanzania is very keen to go into large solar plants, and we will be glad to be a part of it. Okay, so just some key figures to complete quickly. So far in Tanzania, we are deploying more than 1,000 kilometers of energy cable with mainly with REA. We deliver so many telecom towers. We are also doing the monitoring system of telecom sites, and we have deployed 8 mini grids for a partner, and also solar system for the national telecom tower company. Okay, so that's it for the presentation of Sagemcom.
Thank you very much, Boubacar. Very interesting. I will keep the second question for the next round. Very interesting company. I think it was formerly the Sagem called. Maybe many of you know Sagem, the name. It was a telecommunication company. Now became Sagemcom. I forgot to mention at the beginning to stress how gender balance is our panel. Have you noticed that? Yes, we deserve an applause, actually. We have very strong women here representing the energy sector, and you know how sometimes it's underrepresented, and EU is paying a lot of attention to that. So we can now give the floor to a very dynamic and very known and very popular woman in Tanzania, Marianne Walpert. You also have maybe some slides to show. We know how Simusolar is effectively helping in productive use. So please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, better. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to give you an overview of Simusolar and the work that we're doing here in Tanzania. We are based in Tanzania. Our headquarters is Dar es Salaam. We have 9 offices around the country. And Simusolar is a social enterprise, which means that we focus on both profitability and also on impact. And the impact for Simusolar is increasing incomes for rural Tanzanians. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we achieve that. Basically, productive equipment is what's meant by that is equipment that allows people to increase their productivity of their business. So increasing productivity means increased incomes. So in Tanzania, most of the rural population is engaged in farming as the way that they're generating income. And unfortunately, the farms, the smallholder farms, are not super productive, and they're not very productive because they don't have access to equipment. So as our Honorable President, Samia, has mentioned in one of her addresses, basically 60%, 65% of Tanzanians are farmers, and the productivity of the farms is less than a quarter of that in other countries where they do have use of modern equipment. So why aren't we using modern equipment on the farms? There are some key barriers having to do with capital. Smaller farmers typically do not have the capital to purchase modern equipment. They may not be familiar with the system design, and also there's limited access in the rural areas. Of course, the rural populations also are the ones that have limited access to electricity, so power is a part of that problem as well. So the way that we're addressing it is with solar water pumps as the equipment that we have chosen. So solar water pumps do allow smallholder farmers to increase their productivity and to increase their incomes. And how we address those barriers is with financing. So we provide 22-month financing, which really does make this equipment affordable to smallholder farmers. Majority of our customers actually start below the poverty line. And we provide service at the farm. So we go to the farm, we design the system. Every farm is different, of course. It's one of the challenges of a business like this is that you really have to look at each farm individually. Every farm is a different size, growing different crops, different water sources, lakes, rivers, boreholes, wells. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when designing a solar water pumping system. And of course, then we need to have a range of products so that we can address all these needs. So we have a dozen different products, 6 of them for surface water sources, 6 for submersible, anything from rivers and lakes, 1 hectare to 20 hectares, and the boreholes can be anything from 30 to 150 meters. So we have the range of equipment that really can address the needs of most smallholder farmers. And you probably are asking, how is this scalable, right? It's a very customized business, really hands-on for the farmers, and this service model is what makes it work. But also the way that we have this business built to be scalable is that we have automated most of these steps. So our sales officers are not engineers, but they go out with a smartphone, they enter in a few parameters for a farm, and they're able to do a complete system design on the spot. They do the underwriting, and we verify the economics of the farmer so that we can approve them for credit. It turns around very quickly within a couple of days. And then we actually go to the farm, we install the system, and we have control boxes that we've designed for these larger systems that allow us to remotely control and remotely monitor these systems. So they're pay-as-you-go, much like the solar home systems that you're used to, where people will prepay and the equipment is operating. So that's basically the way the payment works. It's very easy for the customer. They use mobile money, they make their payment on their phone, and the equipment is working. And we need that last mile service as well, so that's where the 9 offices around the country come in. From every office, we have service personnel as well as sales, and we do have a customer care line. We provide a 2-year warranty and really follow up with service to keep this equipment working for our customers. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. Thanks a lot. Maybe you can develop a bit about how do you see the development in this productive use of energy in rural settings now in the recent years, and what further support would you welcome to see this productive use expanded?
So a lot of times people think of productive use and they automatically think of mini grids. And so we want people to be understanding that standalone productive use equipment is a very viable solution. In fact, especially when you're looking at farming, which again is the most important thing to increase productivity, not just because of rural incomes, but food security. There's a lot of issues about food supply and productive smallholder farmers these days. So this is something that isn't ever going to be served well by a grid, not even a mini grid. You know, that's something that's great for population centers, but when you start looking at rural applications, when you're talking about farms, productive use equipment is really done very well with a standalone solar power system. So that would be the first thing I'd say about the evolution of productive use systems. The great thing about solar, it's so scalable. Whatever kind of equipment you want to use, if it runs on electricity, you can power it with solar and you can put it in a rural setting. So in terms of support for the industry, I mean, it's a new technology for farmers, right? Farmers have been farming the same way for a long time. So customer acquisition costs are high. The results-based financing is a great way to subsidize the extensive marketing efforts that we have to do. I have to thank Electrify and the EU Commission for the funding that we received for equity. I think every company in this space struggles to have the equity we need to grow our businesses. Also, Get Invest has been a key partner for us in reaching out to funders. And the one last thing I'll say is that we're working with N-Access to provide open source connectivity. So as more and more equipment is being utilized for standalone productive use, having a communication protocol that's open source so that anybody can use it, any distributor in any country who's using Angaza or Solaris or any of the pay-as-you-go platforms, equipment should be usable across as many platforms. So that's another thing that we see is really going to bring the sector along.
Thank you very much, Marianne. So thanks for this interesting overview. I will come back to your second question later on. Now we give the floor to Alexander of TAREA. TAREA, Tanzania Renewable Energy Association, is an association with which we collaborate a lot. We also organized last year Renewable Energy Day in Dodoma. Today here, TAREA is the implementing arm of ARE in Tanzania, we can say, for this kind of event. So congratulations for that. And Alexander, what would be interesting to have your TAREA's point of view on why should investors prioritize Tanzania? What are the key factors and drivers that in the market of Tanzania now are positive in order to attract investors? What is the TAREA's view on that?
Thank you for the question, Max. And thank you for the introduction about TAREA. In fact, TAREA, we are working on promoting access to sustainable renewable energy in Tanzania. And we boast to be the largest organization based in Tanzania, having more than 900 members dealing with renewable energy. So we are probably the largest. Regarding the environment, I think the government has narrated on the conducive environment for investment, but we are seeing a lot of opportunities in Tanzania to invest in renewable energy. First, for agriculture, productive uses, as Simusolar, one of our members, has narrated, there is potential to that on solar water pumping for irrigation and also for livestock. But also we have potential to invest in e-mobility, like electric scooters, electric boats, electric buses, and also the government has started on working on electric train. So we still have potential on renewable energy in these sectors. Likewise, TAREA is working with other members to ensure that we promote fishing lights in our lakes to get rid of kerosene lanterns. So we still have potential in various walks of life and productive uses to ensure that we have renewable energy access to all these walks of life. So in brief, that's what I can say.
Thank you, Alexander. Maybe I'll go back now to Joyce, the Ministry of Energy, and I'm referring to the welcoming remarks of our ambassador, who was saying that EU would welcome regular interaction among all stakeholders involved in the energy, where the public and the private and the international partners can dialogue regularly and exchange, maybe analyze challenges and propose solutions. What is the view of the Minister of Energy on that, Joyce?
Things. Yeah, we see this as an opportunity so as to make things go faster. Involvement of all stakeholder, private, government, and financials, it helps. So what the minister thinks, it is still received a proposal on how we can do this. We know there is like a Renewable Energy Day that is gonna organized by TAREA, but what do we think? Maybe we can have maybe a technical meeting in a quarter, or we will, the minister thinks this is important and we are going to make an official suggestion on how to put it, but it's a good idea to have all the stakeholders in one platform so as to discuss all the challenges and opportunities in order to develop the renewable energies in Tanzania.
Thank you, Joyce. I fully agree with your statement. Back to Boubacar or Sagemcom. We were discussing about this famous, very popular now, smart meters. And we know that there is the ambition of the government of having a smart grid eventually. Can you maybe develop a bit about the opportunities and the challenges existing now in Tanzania for a transition to a smart grid? Also a smart mini grid, but also a smart national grid. Thank you.
So let's talk about mini grid. The mini grid, solar mini grid business is a sustainable business, and in our perspective as a EPC, we are just between the end user and the business owner, which is more often the IPP. So we have two options to monitor. The first one, if we talk about meters, we can put standard meters. The drawback of this solution is that for the investor, they won't be able to have a real-time view on the consumption of the end user, and this point can be an issue because an IPP in the first place need to make some assessment in the ground and so on, and to design the mini grid according to the potential need of the customer. Now, if they don't have real-time information, so they cannot they won't be in a position to adapt their infrastructure. So what we promote is smart mini grid using smart meters and real-time system to monitor the mini grid. So in that case, we'll support our partners, the IPPs, to have the information to understand if, in the first place, the assumption that they did in the business plan were real, too conservative, or too optimistic. And in a second step, it will help them to adapt their strategy. In the first place, if they feel that they can have more business, so with the smart mini grids, they will have the possibility to showcase to the finance to the donors that they need to increase the capacity of the mini grids and so on. So to me, smart metering, which is the basis of smart grid and smart off-grid, is very critical for the finance part, for the financial part, and the aim is to support the investors to have the real-time information in order to adapt their business plan and to increase.
What are these are the opportunities, but what are the challenges that you see to implement that? What is the main obstacle that we need to consider?
Okay, so I think I could say this is a matter of education, because for the main problem is the capex, because prepaid meters are less expensive than smart meters. So what we are trying to do is to, educate our partners to maybe pay a little bit more to have smart meters, and for them it will be the opportunity to increase their business in the long term.
Thank you, Boubacar. Back to Marianne Simusolar. Um, you mentioned that you have your mechanism to ease the access to your solar irrigation system by farmers. You have a model which is a pay-as-you-go. Every company who implements a pay-as-you-go, they have to face some default rate. So we would like to know what is the experience of Simusolar, and how do you tackle this problem? What solutions that you put in place to reduce as much as possible the default rate?
Thank you for the question. Pay-as-you-go has been a topic of conversation in the industry lately, especially, but I can say that with productive use equipment, it's a bit easier for us to manage it in that people really should be making more money using the equipment than if they're not using the equipment. So we're finding that our payments are quite good and our default rate is below 10%, which in this sector is very good. We work closely with our customers. If they are having trouble paying, we don't run out and repossess it immediately. We understand there are some delays. We don't increase added fees if people need to delay for whatever reason. So we really do try to accommodate the needs of the market in terms of being able to make the payments and keep the equipment working when they need it. I would say that if people do default for whatever reason, then we do repossess the equipment. We try to gain some of the benefit of those assets. We don't require any other kind of collateral other than the equipment itself. So if it's not like a loan that a bank does, where oftentimes the farm itself would be collateral. But in the case of default, we do have to go out and repossess the equipment. But as I say, we're seeing those numbers below 10%, so we feel pretty good about that.
I think it is pretty good indeed. Yeah, thank you, Mario. Back to you, Alexander. Let's have a view of TAREA about commercial and industrial use of renewable energy. We know that you are very much engaged in this ongoing discussion. Can you tell us what TAREA considers as priority to be regulated or updated or implemented in Tanzania today? Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Well, there are several priorities that TAREA thinks that we can put our efforts there to ensure that we have a wide-scale access to renewable energy. I talked about agriculture, that we can have solar water pumping for irrigation and livestock. But also we have a lot of potential for minerals in Tanzania. We can use renewable energy for mining activities, meaning for extraction and processing. And likewise, we have potential for clean cooking in Tanzania. The access for clean cooking is less than 7%, according to government statistics. So there is potential for investors to invest in e-cooking, which is a potential market in Tanzania. And likewise, we have other potentials that we can invest on. As I said, we have the political climate, and we have other issues like fishing, where we can use electric boats, and we can use fishing lights, which is also a potential. So these are the things that we can concentrate on to ensure that we have a wide-scale use of renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Maybe before giving the floor to the audience, if you have, I hope there will be questions from the audience. I leave the panelists free to choose who wants to answer. But coming back to the gender dimension, how is your company or your association trying to engage more women in the energy space? If you have some to share something with us today, please feel free to.
Yeah, we're definitely very interested in focusing on gender, and in the farming sector, it's a challenge to try to understand what are the differences for women farmers versus men farmers, what kind of approaches work better, what are the specific needs, what are maybe some of the financing concerns. So we have studies ongoing to understand the different approaches based on gender. Of course, with our own staff, we try to be balanced. Our management staff is 50-50, male, female, and also, I can't say that for the rest of our staff, but we work very hard to try to recruit women, especially for the technical positions. So please make sure all of your daughters study math and science.
Thank you, Marianne. So, if no other contribution from the panelists, I would invite the audience to ask questions. If you have a particular, maybe we start with Matthew Matimba here, and then we go to you.
My question goes to Max. You say that EU will offer support to Tanzania Bureau of Statistics to collect data. Now my question is, how will this data be accessed? Will it be open source or paid up? Because we have experienced that some agencies like TANESCO was given money by SIDA to collect wind data. But this data you cannot access free, you have to pay. So we investors will want to be informed so that we get prepared. Will it be open or paid to access? Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew, for the question. Well, the action is still has to be implemented. There is an agreement now under preparation. The agency implementing it will be expertise funds. And as far as we understand now the design of the operation, there are discussions with TANESCO and the ministry. There will certainly be an open space accessible to the public. But probably there will also be a space which will also only be accessible to the government. So the intention is twofold. We want to give to the government through this action more capacity to analyze and to plan ahead. And we want to also to inform better the public. But there may be specific information that the government for some reason doesn't want to disclose because, for example, it involves negotiation with private sector for big operation. Not necessarily every information can be disclosed. But we want this program to include also a dimension of disseminating statistics to the people, how effectively energy is produced, how are the losses, how effective is the access to energy, how people consume the energy, all this kind of information. Thank you, Matthew. Please.
My name is Shegun Adaju from Nigeria. I'm the president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. Two quick questions. Let me just start with Alex. 900 members. What's the makeup? Are they all in the renewable energy space? For example, in Nigeria, we have just about 160, and we think we're doing good. There were 900. We have lessons to learn from you. How did you grow over this time? Are they all deploying renewable energy technologies, or there are some players from other sectors that are your members? And the second one is the Ministry of Energy. I'm also interested in how you achieved over 60% energy access during that time frame. Is it focused majorly on renewables, or is it a composition of grid and other sources of electrification? Thank you.
My name is Victor Gitange from the Common Secretariat. My question is towards AO. you mentioned about greening coal, and my question is whether, can you elaborate what do you mean by greening coal support you are providing?
Can you please repeat? Sorry.
Greening, I think it's greening coal production,
Green charcoal.
green charcoal production. And the question there is, what do you mean by greening charcoal production? Are you considering the full life cycle from tree planting all the way to production and use? Because when we talk about greening charcoal, we have to consider the life cycle so that it is sustainable. So can you elaborate more about what do you mean greening charcoal production? Yeah, so that was my question. I think I had another question. I'll pause it later.
Thank you so much. I'm called Mulumba Matthias Sona from Uganda, Kampala. I work with a company that gives advisory services, especially to projects in energy and climate change in all sectors, government, private sector, and civil society. But particularly, I have a lot of concerns with the communities, and this goes to Simusolar. Yeah, we've worked with communities in Uganda, and we have evaluated projects that have been supported at community level, especially solar-related projects. And to a lot of disappointment, we find that projects come, a project by definition has a start and an end. So somebody introduces such technologies to communities. 2 years down the road, the communities cannot maintain the technologies. They cannot even find the spare parts of some of these issues. How have you managed to do that in Tanzania? What type of sustainability plan do you have probably at the start to support this farmer to go through the transition from analog to digital, like we say, from the traditional systems that have been using to the new systems? In Uganda, we are not as developed as Kenya in irrigation systems, for example, but also Tanzania, I think, is taking another lead to Uganda. I want to learn that from you. Thank you.
We maybe take the last question, then we start answering in order not to pile up too many questions. Please go ahead.
I am Consalva Sigua from Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology. My question goes to Madam from the Ministry. Most of the renewable energy technologies deployed in rural communities or villages that systems. Oh, the third, since the generating systems which are being deployed are in small scale, can we now, as the government, put some directives to the investors who are now coming to invest that there will be a way or a directive to direct them to install the power stations with the capacity or kilowatt enough for them to be able to use the power for productive use, not only for
for those who are coming to invest now, or might maybe be directed to invest plants with more kilowatt, so that those people there, they will be start engaged in commercial use and other things.
Thank you. Maybe we start answering to those questions and we can take others after that. I think the first one is for you, Alexander. Go ahead.
Thank you. The question to me was about how do we manage the 900 plus members? Well, our members are divided into several categories. First, we have large corporates. These are business companies, both local and international, that are doing business in renewable energy. So we have this type of membership, but also we have small corporates. These are just emerging business companies, NGOs, CBOs, etc. We have them as members. Likewise, we have professional members. These are engineers, accountants, environmentalists, geologists, and several other professionals who have interest in renewable energy promotion, both inside and outside Tanzania. We have a good number of them. Likewise, we have student members. These are from different universities doing their studies, but they are keen to join TAREA to ensure that they have information and perhaps do their practicals to other members to ensure that they know a lot of things about renewable energy. Now, how do we manage all these members? We have our main office here in Dar es Salaam, but we have two other branches. We have one in Mwanza, which is serving the Lake Zone regions. We have our secretariat there. And we have another branch in Arusha, which is serving the northern region areas. And also it has its own secretariat. We keep record of all these members and we communicate and send them regular information and updates, including monthly e-newsletter, frequent emails, and also we communicate to them through social media. So these are the means how we communicate to our members. For more information, we have our booth just outside here. You can have leaflets, pamphlets, and other materials which can be very helpful to know what we are doing in TAREA. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. Let me answer to the second question about the green charcoal. What we intend by that is that we, in the frame of this operation of clean cooking, we are allocating money to the government to improve the sustainability of the entire value chain. What does it mean? Make it more sustainable from the production of the trees to the production of charcoal, producing it with more efficient kilns to consume less biomass, eventually also to certify it one day, so to have a regulatory framework that is also identifying and the traceability of it and certifying that indeed this is charcoal that is less harmful to the environment. So it's a comprehensive operation. But this, as I said,
mini-grid. But the government through REA has already undertaken a study to identify all the location which have got those kind of challenges, and the location, especially in the island, where there's no electricity, and estimate demand, and then call proposal from developer to develop mini grid which can be able to power economic generating activity on those areas. And another issue was on the access, whether it's considering off-grid solution. Yes, it's considering, and on off-grid, it's county connection, while in on-grid, on the main grid, is counting people who are within radius of 500 meters from the distribution transformer. I think that's what, maybe if like anything else, we can, maybe that was an issue on the data, which was asked to you, Max, because
About, sorry?
data, sharing data.
Yes.
I heard someone saying that UNESCO did collected data on wind, but it was not shared. I think that program was meant to be like revolving fund, because SIDA and the government provided some fund to enable UNESCO to collect the data, wind data from different places, and those data were shared at token cost, so that we can get more funding to continue assessing other areas, because we know it's very challenging. Bankable data, they are not less than 5 years assessment. And someone coming here, putting a wind mast, assessing for 5 years, and then preparing proposal, we thought it was challenging, but we didn't have enough data, I mean enough fund. So it was put as a revolving fund. But other data, like mini hydro, the government assessed like 200 plus mini hydro sites, and those data were shared at free cost to developers. And there was another project through SMAP, World Bank. Solar data were collected, and the government has already provided no objection for those data to be public. So not every data is maybe data from other sector, but as energy data is concerned, they are there for free. And that one, the referred program, it was a special program to enable collection of more data from the available that time fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Saidy. Yeah. By the way, this action funded by you will also create a Tanzanian Energy Data Academy. So there will be a platform, physical and virtual, where people can be trained on how to understand data on energy. Thanks, Saidy, and thanks, Joyce. If there are maybe other questions, maybe last round, because we are a bit late on the schedule. We start with the lady and then we come back to you, please.
Thank you. I will try to be brief then. My name is Nicolina Lee. And I was very encouraged to hear the opening remarks by the Honorable Minister the other day when he pointed out the importance of investing in clean cooking in Tanzania. So my question to you on the panel, what would you say is the key barriers to entry for investments in clean cooking in Tanzania? Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolina. This is for all the panelists. You're not targeting anyone specifically, right? You're just, it's an open question. Okay. Maybe we start from Alexander then, since you are targeted.
Thank you for the question. Regarding the barriers, there are several, but perhaps I can touch some. First, the acceptability of the cooking technologies, I think, is one issue, because in various areas, there are different tests of the cooking equipment. So various users of these cooking equipment choose different cooking appliances. First barrier, I think, is the financial ability of most of the communities or the people, meaning that they cannot afford to purchase these equipment. For instance, electric cookers, they are a bit expensive, and most of the communities cannot afford them. I cannot talk on the electric tariffs because perhaps they can afford to cook using electricity, but the issue is the initial purchasing cost of the equipment. Another barrier, I think, for the cooking could be the distribution, the distribution of these equipment to majority of Tanzania. As the largest majority, I think, lives in rural areas, so most of these cooking technologies cannot reach them at affordable prices. So these are the two things that I can point out. Maybe there is another contribution from my colleagues who are dealing with these cooking technologies. I can see a hand.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you so much. I'm Emmanuel Moro, working with UNCDF, but also serving as a program manager for EU-funded Cook Fund program. Maybe I can mention some few items which Alex missed. The issue on the clean cooking market and investment in Tanzania, there are several challenges, but there are a lot of issues which have been addressed on the supply side of the equation, but the demand side hasn't been addressed. And if you have to see as a whole system of the value chain, there are so many missing links and weak links between importation, suppliers, distributors, super dealers for some products. And on the consumer side, there are also challenges. There are issues related with taxes, because if you are talking of the pressure cooker in Tanzania, good pressure cooker, the tax components constitute about 45%. And that makes the product unaffordable from the consumer standpoint. That's a very big barrier. But again, much as LPG and other related, I know there is a different definition of whether LPG is a renewable or not. But as we are transitioning from charcoal and wood to more cleaner energy, I think we have to accept that LPG is very important also. But undercapitalization on the side of the actors, especially dealers, is such an important, that's a very key barrier. And also, even if they could go out to the commercial lenders to access finance, also the commercial lenders are not used to transact this kind of investment. And in Tanzania specifically, we have the challenge of formalization. The business is not well formalized. So you find most of the actors are semi-formal or informal. And because of several other factors, but the culture component is very important in assessing whether the product can be accessed or not. And I'll get time to present some as a panelist in the afternoon to share the outcome, the result of the scoping and market assessment study, which we did as part of implementation of EU-funded Cook Fund program in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. I myself looking forward to assist to that panel and see the restitution of this study. I think we can take just maybe other two questions. We have a gentleman there. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Engineer Daniel Ngwenya. I'm also a solar expert and a trainer. Also, I'm a chairperson of TAREA Northern Zone branch. Mine is not more of a question, but an emphasis. With all these efforts that are done here, if we don't have sustainability of these technologies, more or less we are doing nothing. And on the part of the customers, they are looking of similar projects, similar efforts that have failed around them, and like they're discouraged to get involved again. And yesterday, the panelists were insisting on training. On the same platform, I would like to emphasize on that. Like, if we do not have experts who will be able to be involved in design, installation, operation and maintenance, commission and decommission of this system, we are doomed to fail at some point. And when we are saying we have training, we have to have a well-structured forms of training, and if possible, to have like licensed across the Africa. Like anybody who has been trained in any part of Africa can go and work in any other part of Africa. And that is not really happening. There are efforts here and there, but like there's no joint effort to make this happen. So my call is for those who will be able to reach out. That's what I'll be trying to share. For those I cannot reach out, please check with the TAREA, because we have our training center at Arusha, and we wanted to reach out to other centers. And you see also us based in Rwanda, they are trying to see the same. And as far as I'm aware of, it's only in South Africa. They're offering green card and maybe in Kenya. But we could have an organized, structured trade across Africa that anybody trained anywhere with a qualified expertise can work elsewhere in Africa. So it's just a call, especially even to European Union, to see how can you coordinate that and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Thanks. We take note of your suggestion. Maybe last question there, gentlemen. Thanks.
My name is Elias Lona, part of the USA for Africa initiative. I'm doing work in off-grid electrification across sub-Saharan Africa. I actually have 3 points to highlight, and thank you for a really, really good panel discussion today. And I think the first point I wanted to highlight is the future of energy access in Africa really falls in 3 main categories. Is the decentralization work everyone is doing, digitalization, which is very, very important for energy transition, and also decarbonization, which ties in all the climate work we're all doing. Secondly, I wanted to echo something Engineer Matimbu mentioned about data. With all the work we're doing, we need to know exactly how much we've done, what should we do, and who is doing what. We believe data is king. So the ministry just mentioned they're working on a new renewable energy strategy. They're working on the rural energy master plan. These are very, very key components in the electrification work. Now, we as actors in the off-grid sector or energy sector, decentralized energy space, is really key to work with the government to understand what have we done, what can we contribute to the electrification strategy and work in the country. Everyone in Africa mentions about energy access, which is brilliant, but no one talks about the real connection. Do we know it? How many people are really electrified in all these countries, including Tanzania? The numbers are there. Maybe they're not publicly shared, but at the same time, there's also disparity how the off-grid sector contributes to the overall electrification in all these countries. And there's a disconnect between the public work and the private sector work, which is probably led by most of these off-grid companies. Again, better coordination between the stakeholders, which brings me to my third point. I would like to acknowledge actually the ministry and the energy officer when she mentioned she would love, and the ministry would love to better coordinate with the stakeholders in the energy access in order to discuss energy challenges in the country and opportunities. So we need to be more proactive than reactive. A lot of times the government comes with new regulations, that's where the sector actually engages. But if we are more proactive, we can have these quarterly meetings with the Ministry of Energy, donor-funded programs, including donor community working in energy, and all stakeholders. And this is the call to TAREA, the Renewable Energy Agency, if they can coordinate something like this. So on regular basis, we meet with the government, the public, the investors, to really discuss what is going on, what is the government thinking, where we are, who is doing what, who is contributing what to overall energy strategy within the country. Again, the only way we can achieve this is if we're all aligned together. So that's actually my 3 points. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for this contribution. Let me just clarify quickly. There is an existing platform, coordinating platform among development partners. And I invite all the development partners to attend. They do not necessarily do it, they do not regularly do it, but there is an effort ongoing. We want to coordinate. We are struggling to better coordinate also in terms of capacity building. Risks of duplication are concrete. For what concerns your remark on data, on the electrification, which are maybe off-grid, maybe implemented by private sector, it is true that those data are not necessarily available. But for example, with the action of the European Union, we want also to promote specific surveys that will investigate about that. So we can compile grid electrification rates with clear access or so-called connectivity with the off-grid space as well. But anyway, thanks a lot for your contribution. I think we have exhausted our time. I'm sorry I cannot allow any more questions. So let me thank my brilliant panelists first, ladies mostly. Thanks a lot also for your attention. I will just leave the floor now to Prosper or TAREA if he has some announcements, so please stay seated. And anyway, thanks a lot for your attention.
Thanks, Max. That was really a great panel. So 2 announcements before we